Okay, guys, so once you've got your installation key for the premium DC20 core rules for Foundry, I'm going to walk you through the process of getting Foundry installed and then getting up and running with DC20. So you're going to want to go to the Foundry website and click on your username, and then come down here for purchased licenses. And you're going to find in here your license for Foundry. So that was, you probably paid $50 or $55 for it. You're going to copy that license key. We're going to use that in a second. So the first thing we're going to do is download Foundry. And we can do that from our purchased licenses page. So I'll select Windows. We'll use the latest build, the recommended release, and we'll click download. Now the thing about Foundry is it installs locally. Meaning you don't really buy a hosting service. It's not like Roll20 where it's just hosted in the cloud. You install it on your local machine, and your machine becomes the host for all of your games. Everyone out on the internet, all your players, they connect to your laptop or your computer through your internet connection. Now, you don't have to do it that way. There's actually some hosting services that you can use. The main one is called The Forge. So this is probably the most popular. It's been around the longest. It will host your Foundry world for you. You don't have to worry about installing things. It's all in the cloud. You can see it here. But that's not the only option. You also have Molten hosting, which has, you can see the pricing difference here. It's pretty close to the same thing, but you can try Molten as well. They've been around a little bit less longer than the Forge. And then there's a relatively new player called Squire. But Squire's interesting because they have a free option where you can really kind of run everything you need to for free. Of course, you still need to buy the Foundry license, but these are hosting environments that will host your world for you, so you don't have to worry about hosting it yourself if that intimidates you, or you don't want to, if you've got an old router and you have to worry about port forwarding. So I'll link to all of these in the video description. Okay, so once we've downloaded, we can install. We're going to install with default settings in this case. If you do use any of the hosting environments, you don't have to worry about installing the software. You will use your license key that Foundry gave you when you bought your license, but that's all that you'll need when you set up with those. Let's go ahead and run it. Now, before we get into the details here, on my channel, I have a playlist for Foundry VTT Basics, and this is a bunch of tutorials that myself and my staff create to help you learn Foundry. The main one I want to draw your attention to is Foundry Basics, the Getting Started with Foundry 2023. I know that seems relatively old. We're actually going to do a brand new one here for 2025, but this one will really give you everything that you need to really kind of get started with Foundry and understand it. So if you want more than just this tutorial I'm giving you now, which is a relatively fast flyover, I recommend this one, and I'll link to both the playlist and this tutorial in the description. Okay, once we have this activated, we can paste our license key, and we will agree to the terms, and then we can get started in our world. We have three main tabs: our game worlds, which we don't have any of, our game systems, which we haven't picked yet, and then add-on modules. So we'll start with game systems. We'll say install system. And you can see there's there's 314 game systems for Foundry. We're going to type in DC20, and we're going to pick this official game system for Foundry VTT. We'll install the game system, and that'll take just a moment to install it. And what the game system does is it gives you the basics for the DC20 system within Foundry. Think of it like the operating system that you're going to be running on. Now, while we're here, we'll step into add-on modules. And the most important one, if we open up add-on modules, you see there's almost 3,000 modules. Modules are like, they modify Foundry in some way, or give you new content, or do any number of things. You can see all the different kinds of things they do. It's not uncommon to have between 80 and 120 modules installed when you're really finally comfortable with Foundry. You should definitely not do that when you start with Foundry. You only want to stick with the basics and learn how the basic system works before you start modifying it. Okay, so we're going to type in DC20, and we're going to get all of these different options here. Now, you can't see this because I'm recording this before the release, but you will have an option for the DC20 core rulebook. It'll be in this list. You're going to click it and then activate it. I'm going to activate mine manually. I'm going to grab the manifest URL. I'm going to install it manually here. As long as I've purchased that content, Foundry will match it to my Foundry key and to my username, and it will install the content. You guys will see it on this list. It'll say DC20 Core Rulebook, and you'll just click Install. Now, before we move on from this, there's a couple other things that I think you should consider. First of all, you've got some third-party content creators like Onyx Studios and Sir Nylock. I'd go ahead and install those now. It'll just give you more content right off the bat that you can play with. So we'll install all these things from Sir Nylock, Onyx Studios. You can see it's like homebrew stuff. When you try to install these modules, a lot of times they'll have requirements that come with them, other modules. Go ahead and install these dependencies automatically. This is one reason you'll get up to a lot of modules quickly, is because some modules will have dependencies. Most of these are just under the hood dependencies. You don't really need to worry about what they do. But we'll install some monsters by Sir Nylock. We've got spells, put some homebrew stuff from Onyx. Continue to do some of these dependencies. And I also recommend, I have a video, I'll link to it, of third-party modules you should consider using. We're going to install Argon and Token Action HUD. These are just HUDs that are either for you or your players to be able to easily sort of manage combat and stuff like that. We'll install Ancestries by Sir Nylock. And then I'll include some links to these, but let's also install Dice So Nice. And we'll install Dice Tray. And we'll also install Spotlight Omni Search by Ripper. It's going to help us get the rules at our fingertips. And then just to show you what I've got, we'll go ahead and install Bailiwiki Mass Edit. It's a utility that you'll get a lot of use of when you're in Foundry. This is one that I produce. It's free. Everything I just showed you is free, by the way. There are modules that are premium modules, like the one that we purchased for DC20, for example. And you also might want some maps to start with. So Bailiwiki has a free module, free maps pack. We'll install that. And I believe Mad Cartographer has a free one as well. Free content map pack, that looks pretty good. And there's other, map packs and other things that are free, but that'll give us something where we can at least have some maps to start with. Everything I just showed you is entirely optional. All you need to do is really just install the DC20 premium system. Everything else is just optional, and we'll be activating some of these here in a second when we launch our world. These map packs will drive some more dependencies for you. And you can see we're already up to, a handful of modules, third-party modules, just right off the bat. You don't need to know what these all do today, but if you follow my channel and watch my tutorials, you can learn about some of these. They're potentially really powerful modules, but we won't go into them in too much detail here. While those are installing, you can also go to your configuration, and you might want to give yourself a password. And your data path is important. You're going to want to remember where this is, because this data path is where all of your assets will sit. So if you have like tokens or maps or things from other third parties, you can dump them all into your application data folder, and you can manage them from there. That would be like your local folder on your local system, unless you're using one of the hosting services. But we'll save that for now with our password. Okay, so now we've installed our game system, DC20. We've installed some add-on modules. Now let's actually create our world. So we'll create a world, and we'll call this just DC20 for now. The game system is going to be DC20. And we'll leave everything else as default, but you can see you can add a new background image and do some other creative stuff. Now this is our new world, DC20. So we're going to launch this. And essentially what Foundry's doing, this window here it's creating a server. It's going to serve up our world for all the users, and we're going to take advantage of that ourselves by logging in as the game master. We haven't set a password for ourselves yet, but we're now in our world. We'll see some basic getting started instructions from Foundry. We can delete them down here with the trash can. And now we're kind of ready to go. Now we don't really have anything set up, but we have a combat encounter tracker. If we right click it, it'll pop it out. We don't have any players yet to do any combat with. We have our scenes. Again, we don't have any set up yet. We have our actors, where we can create new actors and even go through a creation wizard. We've got, which is a DC20 thing. So if I click on that, you can see I can start my process of creating a character. You've got all of your items. Items in Foundry include spells and features and items themselves, weapons, potions, all that stuff. They all fall into the items category. We have journal entries. We've got roll tables that we can set up. We can have card games and card stacks ready to go. We have all of our audio, playlist creation and audio management tools. Then we have our compendiums. Now this is super important. These compendiums are introduced by the game system and other modules that we install. And you'll see these are all listed as DC20 RPG. Those are all the DC20 game, all the compendiums associated with the DC20 game system. If we click them open, we'll see, all of your ancestries and traits and classes, and you have like example heroes, right? So let's open this up and let's import Harriet and Irapak into our world. And you can see it moves them now into our actors into the sidebar here. That gives us something that we can just start looking at. And you can see how things are kind of set up. We'll go to this in just a second. Back to our compendium packs. So we see a lot of stuff in here, and the core system gets us to level 2, but what we want to do is activate some of our new content. So we'll now go to the last tab, Game Settings, and we'll go to Manage Modules. And this is all the modules we just installed earlier. And in it, we'll see that DC20 core rulebook. Okay. Now we're going to do a quick search for DC20, and we're going to add some of these other content pieces from Onyx and from Sir Nylock. So we'll save settings. It's going to prompt us to reload our world. So we're going to say yes. And now with our world relaunched, we go back to compendiums, and you'll see here now we have the introduction of new compendiums. We have classes. We've got DC20 monsters from Sir Nylock. And by the way, we can create folders and drag these compendiums into folders to organize this as we like. But you can see coming down here again, you can see all the new stuff introduced by other modules. There's quite a bit of content here to get us started. Here's another one for core rulebook, all the subclasses. So here's your barbarian and all of their subclass features, right? So what happens is you either are going to use these compendiums to drag stuff into your world, or you can drag stuff onto a character sheet, for example. Like you can drag stuff right onto the character sheet and it'll put it to where it's supposed to belong. Or because of the way that we've set up the DC20 core system, there's a lot of automation involved here. So if we want to create a character, it will automatically look up in those compendiums things that we care about, and it will automatically pull stuff in. So for example, if we want to level up this character, it will say, okay, this character gets Font of Magic and Meta Magic. We can apply the advancement, but we can also click on here and open up the compendium, and we can search for things. This is just another view into all of this information here. So we can search for things and pull them into our advancement. Oh, we have to pick whether we're spellcaster or melee. So we'll go spellcasting. And then we're going to select, we have 2 points to spend. So we'll do Careful Spell and Quicken Spell. And it kind of walks you through the process, right? Now we get to spend a point on items, or on cantrip, excuse me. So if we open this up, it automatically filters to cantrip. And let's just pull in Acid Bolt. We'll add that. Apply that advancement. And then it says we get another spell. This one happens to be like a level 1 spell, so we'll pull in animate object, add that in. There we go. It tells us how our point increases, and then where we want to spend one of our attribute points. So let's bring up our, max is 3 right now, so we'll bring up our might. And we can spend some points in our skills. And we just hit level 2. And you can keep leveling up that way. And as you level up, it's going to work with the information in your compendiums. But you can also just open these things up and you can look at, for example, let's look at some of these monsters from Sir Nylock. Oh, this is the monster abilities. Let's find some actual monsters here. Some Apex boss monsters, right? So we like this guy right here. We'll import that into our world and he'll show up in our actor sidebar. And again, we can create folders and organize this as we like. Generally speaking, you want to leave things in your compendiums. Think of it like an icebox. There's a lot of data in here. And if you put all of it into your sidebar, your whole world has to load all of that data every time. So you kind of want to pick what you want to play with or have active in your world, put those in your sidebar, leave everything else in compendiums because that's your icebox and they don't affect your performance in any way. So now we've got our first enemy and a couple of heroes. We're already starting off pretty good. Now let's go back to our manage modules. And just to let you know too, you have some settings that you can configure here across your world and for modules that you have. There's also some controls and some keybinds that you might find helpful. We won't do a full tutorial. Again, I'll link to that so you can learn Foundry better on your own. But that's some of the stuff that we're going to care about. And then let's set up Bailiwicki's map pack here. We'll restart our world. It's doing some scene migration on the back end. We can delete all this stuff. And let's go in here and we can type Bailiwicki, just Bailey. And here's some Bailiwicki free scenes. We open that up. We've got Carnival Grounds. Let's just pull that in. Import the entry. You can also just drag and drop straight over here. Notice it's putting it in my scenes tab. And if I click on this, or if I right click it, I can activate that scene, which we're already on it right now. This happens to be nighttime view. We'll bring the lights up. So this is just a view. This is just a map from my pack. And let's drop some of our characters in here. So we'll drop a couple of our heroes. And we'll drop our enemy. This guy's really big. He's a boss character. And when they're in the scene, I can double click on them and open up their sheets. If I enable the token HUDs, I could also, when I click on them, I would see all the actions available to them without having to click their sheet open. You've got a macro bar. You've got different layers for applying lighting and, spell templates and other things. But we won't go through all that today. We're just showing you basically kind of how this works. So we won't go into more detail about how to run your games. For that, you're going to want to check out my DC20 to Foundry playlist. This is where myself and the actual developer, the DC20 system, Patrick, where we walk you through the history of bringing the system to life. So if you go here, you'll see part 1 all the way to the most recent, which is part 7. Maybe 8 by today, which is the announcement. And you can drill into all the functionality and how to do combat and kind of watch how, how you level up and all that kind of stuff. So I recommend you check out this playlist as well if you want to get into the details. You might want to start with the most recent and work your way backwards. Since there's been so much development, there might be some changes from the very first episode to what you see now. So with that, I hope you guys enjoy this. Leave a comment or questions of any kind, or if you're just excited, leave a comment in the description down below. And then come check out our Discord channel. In the Bailiwicki Discord, which is my Discord, there's a DC20 channel, and you can come here and interact with the rest of the community and talk to Patrick or myself. We can help each other here. Also, in the Foundry Discord server, you have an official DC20 channel here as well. So you can interact in both places. Patrick and I manage and monitor both of them. So feel free to go either one and ask questions. And you can keep on the latest news and new stuff that's coming out from other creators that you might be interested in. So with that, I hope you guys have fun playing DC20 on Foundry. Let us know how we can help make the system better over time. And in the meantime, I hope you all have a great day, and we'll see you in the next one.